So I'm going to talk about the Tommy I met in 1971, and then the Tommy that I was crime partners with in 72 and 73 and 74. And then I'm going to talk about the Tommy that I recognize who evolved into a sick, demented, vicious, treacherous killer.
Right.
But that wasn't the Tommy I met in 1971 because he came to the Sinatra Club around Christmas time with Jimmy Burke. And a few months later, when I met Foxy at the same time, there had to be a sit down between Paulie Vario and Jimmy Burke, had to vouch for Tommy, and then John Gotti and Angelo vouching for Foxy. And then Cataldo, I believe he took Joe Pegleg Brancato to meet Paulie Vario and said, these three guys want to work together. They want to be crime partners. We need permission because that's the way it was back then. You had to get permission to steal with somebody. It's kind of strange when I think back. Oh my God, I had to get permission. And if I was going to go to jail, I didn't get their permission not to go to jail.
No.
So, yeah. So it came about that we were, authorized to work together, the three of us. And Tommy would come to the Sinatra Club to play poker, but he was a terrible poker player. He wasn't a good card player in contrast to Jimmy Burke, who was an amazing card player. He was probably the best gambler I ever met in my life. Sharp as a tack, amazing photographic memory. He tried to school Tommy in a lot of ways, but what I can say about Tommy was, yes, he was impulsive. He was unpredictable. At times he was grandiose, okay? So I was a couple of years older than him, and when I decided that I wanted to do a robbery, I would give him all the details. And he never brought a score or a robbery to me, but I came up with ideas, and I said, look, this is the details of what we got to do, and you got to follow. And Foxy agreed. Let Obots plan it all out. And I was always the driver of the hot car. And Tommy loved to jump out of the car, flash his guns, two guns in the middle of the street while we were doing these hijackings, okay? So, the first couple of hijackings we did, we went out and did those without any problems. And Jimmy Burke eventually became the sole buyer. I mean, Danny Fatico, Gotti's guys, they couldn't compete with Jimmy Burke's price. If we did a truckload of garments, Jimmy would offer us 60 or 80,000. The Gotti guys would offer us 40. So eventually the Gotti's guys, Charlie Fatico, Danny Fatico, they were sort of kicked to the curb, and Jimmy Burke had all the right contacts to sell this stuff. So that's what we did. Again, we had various sit downs. We really never had any problems or difficulties with the heist. They went off pretty smoothly. I want to say that I didn't know at the time, but Tommy was developing a serious cocaine habit because I didn't do cocaine and I didn't sell cocaine in the 70s. I sold heroin, but I never talked about the heroin. And Foxy never talked about, what he did with John Gotti. We weren't allowed to share inside information with the guys that we were assigned to. What we were allowed to do was talk about the heist. So one particular heist we did was garments. We did shoes. I talked about those. And I got to know Tommy really close and up front. And also I'd go to Robert's Lounge. That was the bar that Jimmy Burke had, only like 20 blocks from my Sinatra Club. We'd go there, hang out in the basement. It showed in Goodfellas how they were playing cards. Yes, Tommy was radical and unpredictable. But when it came to doing a heist, he had the balls of a lion. I mean, it was no problem. He'd be out there in the middle of the street waving guns. And talking about guns, every once in a while, I always had a connection to get guns out of the airport. Guys were stealing freight. They'd find guns, and I'd buy a bunch of them. I never used a gun on anybody. I never shot a gun. I had brand new Smith & Wesson guns in my basement. Occasionally, I had some cheap Saturday night specials. I forgot the name of them, but they were cheap. They were $40, $50. But Tommy would always say, "Hey, watch, how much you pay for that Smith and Wesson?" I'd tell him $100 back in the day, brand new in the box. He said, "Okay, give me one." So he'd give me the $100. He said, "How about I trade you a couple of these guns for that?" I go, "No, you got cheap garbage." He had a Raven gun made in Connecticut. They used to make them for like $22.
Mm-hmm.
And, he always wanted new guns. I go to him one day, "What are you doing with all these guns?" Then he smirked and laughed. He said, "I take a ride to the 59th Street Bridge. I tossed the gun out into the river." So that means he used it to kill somebody. But he never gave details, okay?
How many times do you think he came for you to get these guns? Because, I mean...
I don't know. I lost track.
Hey, thanks for watching this clip. This clip came from one of my interviews I did in the past. Please hit subscribe if you want to get more clips like this. Also, if you want to watch the full interview, I'll put a link in the description. Or you can hit the button on the screen to watch the full interview.